Hello my loves, welcome back to another interesting video. My name is Brenda Kongo. I am a baker and a tailor located in Nairobi, Kenya. So welcome to today's video. It is a sit down and we will be talking about 16 baking mistakes to avoid as a baker, whether you're a beginner or an experienced baker. This is something I found worthy to share and I hope it will help you one way or another. The first one may sound cliche or even unserious, but it is. Hear me out. Do not bake at night. Don't bake at night. I don't know whether this is obvious to you, but to me it is. Right now, as I'm shooting this video, I have 3 cakes in the oven. And it is at night. It's around 8:47 p.m. It's not too late. It's also not too early. Excuse me. So, the reason I'm telling you not to bake at night, and I mean very late at night, like at around 1 a.m., it's not right to bake at that time because you may find that you do not have some ingredients, or you have them but they are not enough. So you need to rush to the store or to the shop or supermarket to buy. At 1 a.m., not many shops are open. That is why I tell you not to bake at night, and it also happened to me today. Although I was baking at around 6 p.m., I just had to leave the house and go shop, and that was okay with me. Number 2 is not measuring ingredients properly. You just had the oven ringing. I told you I was baking. So, number 2 is not measuring your ingredients properly. If you're following a recipe that has already been tested before, please follow that to the letter. I share recipes on my platform, so feel free to try out those ones because I only share things that I have tried. There's no time I will ever come here and tell you to go try a recipe when I haven't tried it myself. I know there are also many other people who can just get something randomly from the internet and just give it to you. So please follow what you can see being done. Okay, the third one is using ingredients at the wrong temperature. This is for people who keep their eggs in the fridge, especially, and butter, those, and also milk and sometimes oil or anything that can be cooled, the wet ingredients mostly. It's always advisable to use ingredients at the room temperature. I think I'm shouting too much and I'm struggling. I'm just not used to shouting, so I'm not going to shout again. Number 4 is over mixing butter. So in some recipes, you will find the instructor telling you to mix until perfectly combined, or to mix for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or something like that. Just follow that recipe. It is perfect as it is. Okay, I hope you're understanding the things I'm saying. Number 5 is skipping sifting or sieving your flour. Please do not skip that because you're going to have some lumps. And whenever we talk about sifting, sift all the dry ingredients. If you're using cocoa, pastry cocoa, if you're using baking powder, baking soda, the flour itself, sift. Do not let anyone tell you not to sift it because the consequences are personal. Number 6 is baking at the wrong temperature. What do I say about this? Sometimes you may have a faulty oven and you may not really know that it is faulty. And one thing I have experienced with faulty temperatures is usually the ovens that use gas. People have a problem regulating it. You can buy a thermometer that you can be using to regulate the temperature inside the oven. Also, I have given this tip a few times, but I ended up deleting some videos, so I'm not really sure whether I deleted some of the cake videos I had uploaded. But always add a tin of water to maintain moisture inside the oven. That really helps a lot, and it brings such a great difference in your cakes. Your cakes will not really need a drink to take. I almost said water because there are times I can have a cake with water. I don't mind it. I think it's just one of those weird combos. Number 7. Did I say number? Number 7, opening the oven door too often or often. That is something you must avoid. Let me give you a trick. If the recipe says that you need to bake that cake for 40 minutes, do not open that oven until those 40 minutes are over. Wait until 40 minutes are over so that you can open the oven to check the cakes. Do you know what happens if you decide to open that oven door? Temperature from the outside will enter the oven and it will cause an imbalance and the cake will probably sink. That is one thing I have experienced and it made me almost cry because right now I have 3 cakes. If I dared open that oven with 3 cakes, I'll have to repeat. And that is a loss on my end. The ingredients, my time, because I'm really tired. I've been on my feet since morning. I am also a tailor apart from being a baker. So there's a lot of work I do, like physically. So you can imagine how tired I get if I have to bake and bake and bake. Even if I have a stand mixer that mixes things for me, I still have to do some manual tasks over there. Okay, so do not open the oven doors wow, too often or too often. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I say often. Ignoring salt. But there is salt. You don't even need a lot of salt. You don't need a lot of salt. You just need a pinch. Just a pinch of salt. A pinch of salt is enough. And that is basically to enhance the flavors. Okay? Salt is such an important ingredient that you shouldn't skip. And please do not think that because cakes are considered sweet, they don't need salt. And also remember, it's just a pinch of salt. You don't want your clients complaining that your cake is salty. Trust me, you don't want that kind of an experience. Number 9 is not preparing the pan perfectly. If you are keen on my videos, you will definitely see that I always grease and dust my pan before I start baking. Greasing is applying the butter on the pan, and I normally use a pastry brush for that. Dusting is sprinkling some flour on the cake pan, then I shake it, ensuring that all the parts of the pan have been covered by flour. That way, when I bake a cake, it will be very easy for me to remove the cake once it's fully baked. The other method you can use is lining a parchment paper, and I'm also sure I've shared that trick on YouTube and also I think on my socials, the other socials. So be sure to subscribe so that you do not miss out, because if I post something on my shorts and you have not subscribed, you will definitely miss out on that and you may end up making a mistake which will cost you and your bakery. Number 10 is using expired products. And this is, I don't know whether this is out of ignorance or what, but you know, the sad thing here is sometimes you may not really have control, because there are some places where if they realize that their products are almost getting expired, they will just change the dates. If something does not grow mold or show a sign of getting expired physically, they will just take the stamps and alter them or alter the packaging. And if you find yourself using expired products, I'm so sorry for that, or using fake products, oh my god, fake products can really ruin your cake, especially the decorating one. Oh my god, that is a story for another day. But to cut it short, I once had that kind of an experience where I bought a fake product and it was a whipping cream. I kept whipping and whipping and whipping, and I have a stand mixer that has 6 speeds. I was beating at the 6th speed and nothing was picking. Nothing. And I had bought it at a very expensive price. Anyway, we move on. That was a lesson learned, and I do not want you to repeat the same mistake I made. Number 11 is substituting ingredients randomly. Please, if you do not know what you're doing, do not substitute ingredients randomly, because you might do it the wrong way. You may be doing it for different reasons. One of the reasons I saw is someone substituting milk with water. That is one hell of a mistake you do not want to make, because even the texture of the cake will be very different, and there's some things that cannot be hidden. I will literally taste a cake and be like, something is wrong in this cake. So know what to substitute, know what not to substitute. If maybe you can substitute butter with margarine, because butter is quite expensive, but not in all the cases. When baking the cake itself, you can use margarine, but when decorating a buttercream cake, don't use margarine over there. Just use butter and adjust your prices accordingly. Your customer is not a fool for not your customer is not a fool. If sometime I woke up and I'm like, I want to get a cake from someone else and I love buttercream, I make Swiss meringue buttercream and I love it so much. So, and if someone decides, I'm going to use margarine instead of butter, trust me, I'll know. So if please be transparent with your clients, explain to them the differences, and so that if someone is on a very tight budget, you can explain to them that whatever they want can be done using margarine, but the outcome may change. Okay, because butter and margarine have different tastes, even if they belong to the same family. Number 12 is ignoring the mixing order. That one is so true. Some time back, I was baking with someone and she was like, just put everything together and mix. At the end of the day, it will still give you a cake. Yes, it will give you a cake, but the cake I bake using the order I follow and the order I have shown you will be completely different from that one. But you can still do it to experiment or to do what? To learn from it, but avoid it, especially if you're a beginner. If you want to try out different things, try them a bit later, okay? Because I also try different things every time. I'm not one to stick to one thing, like you were taught to do this, use that alone. No, I'm not that kind of a person. So if you're going to explore at the right time. That's what I can say about trying out different things. The number 13 is overbaking and underbaking. I believe that is quite explanatory, but let me say this. If you're baking a sponge cake, bake it only for the minutes required. Do not go past the minutes required, because sponge cakes are, what I can say, sensitive. Don't know. But yeah. Number 14 is cooling cakes the wrong way. Let me go and remove mine from the baking tins, then come and explain to you what this means. Let us continue and finalize on cooling the cake the wrong way. So sometimes you may be tempted to leave the cake inside the tin for it to cool, but remember, this cake is still hot and it is letting some steam or vapor from it because it's hot. So that steam will get trapped inside the cake tin, and you see the boundary between the cake and the tin will make that cake to absorb the vapor or steam that will have condensed, and it will be is it soggy or mudgy, or how do I explain it? But it will have such a bad texture. I think it's soggy. Let me just say it will be soggy. The other one is crowding the oven. I'm reading from this book. I believe you have seen it before when I was just trying to explain it. So, crowding the oven. That is adding very many cakes inside your oven. And you know what that does? The cakes at the top or close to the source of the heat will absorb the heat more, and those that are not at the place where the heat comes from may end up baking last or may end up being underbaked. Also, the cakes at the top or bottom part may end up overbaking at the top part and at the what and underbaking at the bottom part, and the cakes at the bottom part of the oven may end up baking or even burning from the bottom part and not really getting baked at the top part. I really hope you have understood, because I know that statement can be quite confusing, but it's nice to have an oven that is not overcrowded so that it can allow easy circulation of air and steam inside the cake. Okay, last but not least, number 16 is not letting the dough rest when needed. Some of the things you will experience as a baker will teach you from experience, and you know experience is the best teacher. I don't know who said that experience is the best teacher for fools, because I've had that statement very many times. But to be honest, in some of these cases, you learn by experience. Nothing else can teach you better but experience. So, okay, you can decide to be a fool for you to learn. I have been a fool in very many things, and I've gained a lot of experience in some of those things. And so, some the some of the things that require the dough to rest are like the pastries, puff pastries that require you to use yeast. Whenever you're baking cookies, you also need to it is advisable, but it's not necessary to have the dough rest. Sometimes you will be required to let it rest overnight in the freezer, in the fridge, like in room temperature, in a warm place. It's all different. So it's very important to always follow the instructions in the recipes you are using. That marks the end of our video today. I hope you have been able to learn as much as you possibly can about your bakery, whether it's a home bakery or you're planning to open a commercial bakery. I always believe that there's always something to learn. Whenever I come across something valuable or people, and I hope you will subscribe and get to learn more about baking, tailoring, what else. If anything significant comes up, I will definitely let you know, and have a good time. Remember to be happy and bubbly and loving to every person who is near you. Goodbye. Remember to subscribe and support the channel, and when we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll give you a cake. I will give you my community. Each one of you will have a taste of the cakes from Sweet Savannah Bakery. Also remember to place your orders with me if you're not a baker, or if you're a baker who also buys from other bakers. I do that a lot. So yeah, goodbye for real now.